Once upon a time, in the heart of a dense forest, lived a clever and sly fox named Felix. He was known for his cunning ways and his ability to outsmart his fellow creatures. One day, as he roamed through the forest, Felix caught sight of a luscious vine filled with plump, ripe grapes hanging high above the ground. With his mouth watering at the sight of the succulent fruit, Felix couldn't resist the temptation to taste the sweet grapes. He jumped and leaped with all his might, trying to reach the tantalizing bunch. However, no matter how hard he tried, the grapes remained just out of his grasp. Undeterred, Felix continued to make desperate attempts to reach the grapes, but each time he failed. Exhausted and frustrated, he finally gave up, slinking away with a disgruntled expression. As he walked away, Felix muttered to himself, "Those grapes were probably sour anyway. Who needs them?" In his pride and disappointment, Felix refused to acknowledge his failure and attempted to console himself by convincing everyone, including himself, that the grapes were not worth having. He even boasted to the other animals about how he had no desire for such measly fruits. However, a wise old owl, who had been observing Felix's antics, saw through the fox's facade. The owl approached Felix and said, "Felix, it is not wise to pretend that something is not desirable just because you couldn't attain it. It is better to admit defeat and learn from your experience." Felix, feeling ashamed of his behavior, lowered his head and confessed, "You are right, wise owl. I let my pride and frustration cloud my judgment. I should have accepted that I couldn't reach the grapes and moved on." The wise owl smiled and said, "True wisdom lies in humility and learning from our mistakes. Instead of belittling what we cannot achieve, we should strive to improve ourselves and acknowledge the efforts of others." From that day on, Felix understood the importance of humility and learning from failure. He no longer pretended to disdain the grapes but instead focused on honing his skills and being truthful about his abilities. And in doing so, the sly fox discovered that true contentment lies not in denying what we cannot have, but in recognizing our limitations and continually striving to grow and improve.